So a lot of times when you start a small group, it's easy to kind of lose your way as time goes on. And what happens is that vision sort of falls apart without clear leadership, without a clear setting of the table. You're basically going to have problems in your group. So you always need to set the table. You don't just set the table one time. You have to set the table every week, which means you have to say, well, why are we doing this? Cast some vision about we're getting together to share our hearts with one another and to talk about the Word of God together and to really open up and pray for one another. You have to look people in the eye and remind them we're here because we're trying to learn how to follow Jesus together. You couldn't say that enough times because people forget. They're like, no, I'm not here for people to like what I have to say or to make me feel good or to maybe even build a particular kind of friendship. The reality is probably out of those 12 to 15 people in your group, there's only 2 of them you're going to be friends with. Maybe 1, and that's okay. That's normal. Jesus, even in his own small group, had 3 close friends. And so when you're setting the table, go ahead and say, hey, we're gonna spend some time together and we're gonna eat, we're gonna sit down and we're going to get into the Word together, and then we're gonna pray for one another. Go ahead and give them those big building blocks and explain, here's what we're gonna do. It's also important, if somebody shares something vulnerable or personal in this group, we're not going to assume that you want to talk about that openly with everybody. And so the assumption is that we're going to keep things confidential in the group. We have the expectation that everybody's going to share, but you don't have to. You can pass if you want to and say, oh, I need to think about that, and that's okay. But I do actually would prefer to hear from everybody in the group. I'd like to hear from everybody. And so when you set those expectations, you say, here's why we're here, here's what we're gonna do, here's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna try to end on time. This is one that groups really struggle with because once everything kind of finally gets warmed up and everybody's finally sharing and you're praying for one another, it's easy to let it then go on for another hour or 2 and go late into the night. You have childcare problems, people are tired, and when everybody goes home, they're like, phew, I'm exhausted, I went to small group. And it's very difficult to stop while everyone's still having fun. And to me, that's a skill. That's a setting the table skill. It's like saying, all right, we're all having a blast, we're enjoying one another, it's time for everybody to leave. And as the leader, you actually have to instigate that. You have to be the one to say, all right, well, let's really try to stay on time and leave at 8 o'clock. You're not offending everybody if you say that every week. If you remind everybody, this is when we're gonna start, whether you're here or not. This is when we're gonna leave. This is what we're gonna do. And people need those clear boundaries. They need to know what you're doing. If you just set everybody in a circle and just start asking vague, open-ended questions, everybody wants to have a panic attack because they're like thinking, I don't know what he's trying to get at, what are we doing? And then there's always sort of lingering into the dinner or staying too late or maybe even studying so long that you never hear what's going on in each other's lives. And so all of those components are important, but don't forget to set the table. Set the table by saying, hey, here's why we're here. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. And this is really typical, is that once we've cast the vision, we think everyone's got it. And the truth is people come and go in groups, new people come in, and we forget what we're doing and why we're doing it. It would never hurt to repeat that every single week, the entire year. This is who we are, this is what we're doing, this is how we're gonna do it. What it does is it sets everybody up to succeed. If you tell people what you want, they can meet expectations and everybody has a better group. So anytime you're starting a group, for sure that you have to set the table. But even after that, every single week, it's important to keep coming back to it and setting that vision.